It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for three. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Hour number 2, breaking down the Cougs win over the Mustangs, 18-15. And getting a lot of texts. It's been a lot of fun hearing from you, Cougar Nation, 57500. Speaking of Cougar Nation, we'll be taking your calls on Cougar Nation Monday night, 6 to 7, continuing to break down this win. Looking forward to the game against Wyoming. This is a good text and a nice little segue to this upcoming segment. 62-24. Jake struggled, not denying that, but you didn't get much help from special teams or the play calling. Biggest play ended up being an audible. I think you start him at Wyoming and see how he does, and let's break down this win even further in the blueprint. What percentage did Jake have in the outcome?
The Blueprint. Drawing up what went wrong this week for the Cougars and what went right. Let's look at the Blueprint.
What percentage, if any, did you give Jake in the win against SMU for your Blueprint, Mitch?
I gave the BYU offense 9%. I'll go 10%. I was trying to be funny. 10%. That feels a little bit low because, again, when you're factoring in the whole game, I thought that first quarter was solid. I'll say 10%, though, because the last 3 quarters were tough offensively. They got it done at the end. I'll go 10% for the BYU offense. You?
5% to Jake and that 4th and 1 play. You just can't deny how impactful that was. And to find out from Kalani that he played a large role in getting into that play and then making the play, because there was a great breakdown on the broadcast of that play where it was him and Miles to the left, and then you had Caleb Etienne, you had a D-end and a linebacker. And what was going to happen with the D-end and the linebacker? Because Caleb had to make a choice. Do I block the linebacker and let the end, or do I take the end and let the linebacker? He went for the end. Linebacker came in free. Jake waited for him to be right on top of him, threw the pitch out, huge play, game-winning field goal. Can't deny that. And to even get to that point, too, he started off the drive with a pass to Chase Roberts that kind of got the offense going. He had some nice read option plays in the fourth quarter. You can't say he didn't play a role, even though he clearly did not play well. That was not a great performance from Jake Retzlaff. But you can't say that he played no role in the win. He did have moments that were impactful.
You bring up Caleb Etienne. That's a guy that has done a nice job through 2 weeks. And kudos to Caleb Etienne and what he's becoming, and the credit to TJ Woods and this offensive line. They are getting better. And I think that gives you hope too, Matt, that better days are ahead. You hope for this offense because you do have an offensive line. That group's coming together. And they still had their moments where they
need to improve in run games.
Yes,
still.
They do. But I feel like that group is improving. And because last year they struggled a lot in many respects. For me, the biggest portion of BYU's success, it seems extreme, but man, they were so good. And maybe it's just a case of, I don't want to try to get caught up in the moment, but man, we've seen some tough performances from this side of the ball the last few years. 85% of the defense, they were great last night. And what was fun too was that it wasn't just scheme-based, like it was just individual talents emerging, making plays where they need to just, make it an open field tackle. Mark Collins is coming up with an interception. There were so many great moments from this defense that, man, it's not endless, but man, there were just so many good highlight-worthy moments that will probably be remembered for quite some time when you look back on this win.
Absolutely. Defense for me is 90%. For them to have come up with multiple red zone turnovers and to hold them to multiple field goals when it felt like they're going to punch this thing in, tip of the cap to them. Because there's been other good defensive performances throughout the years where you're just saying to yourself, can they hold on? Can they hold on? And that's why I was frustrated by Kalani's not taking the early field goal, going for it where they got stuffed. What bothered me about that at the time was your defense is playing so well. Throw them a bone. Give them a little shot of life where it's like, okay, we got some points. Because when you stuff a 4th and 1, that's a momentum swing. And then to have your defense come back out and have to stop them again, I just felt like sometimes a field goal, and I tweeted this, sometimes you have to take the points because it's worth more than 3. It's morale to the team. It's morale. It's the offense feeling like they're contributing. It's the defense getting a break and seeing the scoreboard go up. And you're preventing a momentum swing by stopping a 4th and 1. So, but I felt like, how long can the defense hold?
Yeah.
How many great performances have we seen in the past where you just know it can't be sustained much longer? Like, think about that. We talked about this earlier when you referenced Matt Hadley up at Rice-Eccles Stadium. That 2018 game, it was like heroic defensive performances all over the place. Isaiah Kafusi's balling out. One of the Corbin Kafusi's like,
yes, he was like on one leg
and pouring his heart and soul into it. And you just felt like, how much longer can they hold? And they didn't. They didn't have enough juice. And for this defense to have enough juice was impressive.
And that speaks to the depth. They are a much deeper group than I think people on the outside realize. And we were seeing flashes of that. I think you and I have been pretty high on this defense and their potential, but it was still kind of, we got to see it. We got to believe it. And I never bought into the notion that SMU was going to put up another 54-piece like they've been averaging in that 9-game home winning streak. BYU brings that to an end. I was not expecting a high-scoring game in this game. I know there were analysts out there that thought this is going to be a track meet. I just didn't buy that. Look, we've watched BYU enough that these games are always typically the benchmark is that 24 threshold. I know Bronco used to bring that up, but really that's kind of the sweet spot in these road non-conference games. That's kind of the target spot. If you can get to there, you're going to be in a good spot. BYU typically when they're at 18, that's usually not a recipe for winning ball games. Last time BYU won with this low of a point total under Kalani was 2016, his first game against Arizona. So BYU, they rose the occasion, this defense, and I just feel really good about the personnel, the talent. They're playing fast, and they're bought into the scheme, and you're seeing the fruits of roster continuity and then sprinkling in some transfers with Mark Collins, Che Bryant, Strother making plays. It's working out nicely, and this feels like a pretty deep group. And remember, they lost before they played it down, really at all this whole year. Ben Bywater never played a snap in practice at all, and that was one of the key cogs at linebacker, and they're still thriving even without Ben. And I know they'd love to have him, but it speaks to the personnel, the depth that they have, that they're still operating at a high level. This defense is going to be pretty good, I think.
Before last week, Mitch, BYU had lost 7 consecutive games when the offense has at least 3 turnovers. Yep. You don't overcome that without the defense. There just weren't enough points scored by the offense to overcome those turnovers. It had to be the defense. They got it done, and you have to be really encouraged about that because this BYU team, Mitch, that was not projected to win enough games to go to a bowl game, they just need one side of the ball. We need to remember this. This might be hard to accept, but I do believe it is the reality. BYU is not going to play in the playoff this year. I don't think they're talented enough to get to the play.
Let's not say no yet. No, I'm kidding.
I'm saying no. I don't think the Big 12 is hard. Their schedule is really hard. I don't believe that BYU is going to be in the playoff, winning the Big 12.
Hot take. Just kidding.
Hot take.
I'm just kidding.
I don't think their ceiling is 10 or 11 wins.
Could they get to 8?
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make. You just need one side of the ball to be top 4 in the conference, I think, to get to 8. And if it ends up being the D, like maybe the quarterback plays shaky all year. Maybe you don't have a great running game, although they did rush for 134 with a 4-yard average. So it's hard to be too critical of the run game, but if your defense can play like this all year long, you're going to upset some people, and you're going to see the expectations.
Another portion of my blueprint is Will Ferrin.
Oh, really?
Even
with the missed field goal.
I know he missed, but that was a 55-yarder. I mean, come on.
It had plenty of leg, too.
It did. And that's what I feel good about that guy. I know he's missed 2 field goals through 2 weeks, but he's got a leg that could go a long range. He's not Rodgers of SMU, who that guy, give him the Lou Groza Award. He was brilliant last night.
He was.
For SMU. 5 field goal makes for him. He set a SMU single game record for most field goals made by a Mustang kicker in a game. So great performance by him. But at the end of the day, you got to hit that field goal late to get in front. And Farron, I know it was a short one. What was it, 26, 27? But he got it done. He
26.
made that field goal and put BYU on top. And, that's still got to have a little bit of ice in the veins and take care of business. And he has shown Oklahoma State last year, this week, he'll make a clutch field goal. You can never take those for granted, and that ability and that trust. You got a kicker that he could kick a 50-yarder, and that's something BYU hasn't had in a very long time. He did that last week.
I would have liked to seen him get that first field goal.
That would have been sweet.
Because it was a makeable kick, and then maybe that changes the 55. It's hard to go cold and then bang in a 55-yarder.
I was just amazed that he had a leg that can do that. We've heard from Kelly Papinga that he hit, a 70-yarder in fall camp? We didn't see that in media observation.
That one he missed, though, was easily long enough for mid-60s.
He's got a leg, and I think that's a nice weapon for BYU to have, and they should utilize him more. When you're having these issues at quarterback, and I know that BYU's got an aggressive style, and Kalani, to his credit, man, he's like, it just felt right. Like that sometimes scares me, but you know what? I'm okay with feel-based moves sometimes.
Yep.
Don't always have to follow the book about what analytics say. But you know what? Just sometimes for a team that might struggle to put up some big offensive numbers week after week, it's not a bad thing to maybe get out of a drive with 3. And Farron's a nice weapon for BYU to have.
Let's take a break. On the other side, let's discuss some answered questions that we had after the first 2 weeks and maybe some areas that have been surprising in a good way for BYU football. We'll do that next.